Tom Hanks is one of the most liked and adored people out there. He is not only one of the greatest actors of our times with an amazing career highlighted by iconic performances, but he also presents himself as a good person. It feels obvious, and such perception comes from the feeling we get from Tom's vibe and atmosphere he creates around him. But today I would like us to try and analyze those few critical elements of his behavior that create the general image. This is the first episode of Personal Attitude series, so stay tuned for the next videos on the Personal Attitude playlist. We start gently with the first point, which is a very simple one, but it needs to be mentioned here, as it is also a kind of base and support for every other. Number 1. Good manners. Tom Hanks always behaves appropriately to the situation. He listens to others with full commitment and understanding, and adjusts his behavior and responses to the circumstances. The materials I prepared are mostly from interviews, where he more or less knows the host for many years now and feels comfortable, yet still he behaves exemplary. Even when he slightly interrupts, he uses gestures, physical contact and laughter to cover it up and to make amends with the person who could potentially feel uncomfortable if someone else behaved less gently. Look at this example how Tom greets Sally Salenberger.
This happened on Thursday afternoon. I saw him for the very first time on Monday.
Unbelievable. That is crazy.
I would have told that anecdote if this was still my interview.
Well,
My interview.
it's all yours.
Tom greets him respectfully, then he makes a joke about Sally taking over the interview, and immediately after, he touches his arm and confirms it was just a joke. Tom's priority is to make sure that others feel good about his actions. He's extremely down to earth and acts humbly even in a casual conversation. He bows many times and very politely accepts any kind of compliments. Now the next point is much more exact than manners. And since we talk about being humble, the second point is extreme appreciation of others and modesty. The effectiveness of this technique depends on how you deliver it. You can simply say universal compliments, but if you don't want to just waste time, you have to be specific and real. So Tom focuses on his conversation lists and the facts he knows about them. When he adds something more, even if it's just a short sentence, it really makes others feel good and actually believe the compliment. Now I will show you a great technique to respond to admiration. Here is an example of how Tom stays humble, but also immediately turns the attention to Ellen while simultaneously engaging the audience to applaud her, to kind of make it difficult for her to deny it. It's an amazing example since those two great people are gonna go back and forth at least few times.
So we're going to both be at the Golden Globes this year. You're getting the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Cecil B. DeMille
Cecil
Award.
DeMille
You're
Award.
getting the Carol Burnett Award.
Yes,
How
we're
about
both getting...
He interrupts gently and takes over the conversation just to put Ellen above him. Now she tries again to appreciate his achievements.
I'm just flattered and honored that I'm getting that, but I'm so glad that
Well,
this
does
year...
this mean you're now going to have a variety show on the air as well? So there'll be this, the game show, and the...
And then the fork show. Yeah.
And again he does exactly the same. He takes over the conversation and finishes the sentence so that it's about her, but they keep on going.
I think that's so cool
Oh,
that
thank
I
you.
get to be there on that show with you.
And likewise,
Yes.
you and I have been essentially on television since VHS was first invented.
That is true.
It's literally about the same time we...
Ellen tries yet again, but this time Tom tries to cover his achievements with a joke. After that he completely takes over again and goes all out with a monologue where he starts from that joke and immediately relates it to another time in the past that was all about how great Ellen is.
1984, 85,
Yeah.
something like that. And you won for, what did you win?
I have no idea.
I think you won for best female club comic.
Okay.
Does that sound about right?
Sure.
Which means that you...
In less than 2 minutes, he denies being in the spotlight 4 times effortlessly while absolutely adoring Ellen and moving the attention to her. The last time, she kinda gives up and just sits there while Tom compliments her instead. They're obviously both enjoying their company and they are both people who you simply cannot dislike. This time however, Tom absolutely dominated the conversation, just to give up all the attention and move it to the host instead. This is probably the #1 reason for Tom Hanks being perceived as the good person in every scenario. Now another thing directly related to good manners is respectful humor. Tom is very careful about the jokes he makes. He mostly jokes about neutral stuff or about himself rather than other people. He always gives credit and gets excited by others. Even when he's making fun of himself, he still finds a way to appreciate others by comparison.
He's Sully's real.
Didn't you just feel like when you met him for the first time? Did you just feel like really a lazy compared to him?
More than usual.
You know, nice to meet you. I haven't done anything.
It's not only how he makes his own jokes, but also how he handles the humor of people around him. Many times he has ideas how to turn jokes of others into more appropriate.
You know, bow mustache, the one that comes down there. So I'll get a picture of that.
That's good.
before
Just
it
be
all goes.
careful because the final stage of that, of course, is a little Hitler
Let's
mustache.
not. I
And
will
you
call
don't
that
want
the. I will call that the Charlie Chaplin. You idiot. I'm not gonna say.
He also does not explode jokes about others too much. I'm gonna show you a clip, which is a funny anecdote about someone else, and in the regular circumstances, the person telling the story would like to laugh much more at the expense of it, potentially making it annoying to whomever the story involves. Jimmy Kimmel reacts to it with laughter, but Tom cuts it off almost in an instant by just continuing the anecdote casually. So it becomes more of a nice story to make you smile, rather than something to laugh at.
I said, you know, Mayor, you shot here in Bonanza Creek. She said, I did? Yeah, you made a movie with Kevin Costner called Wyatt Earp that shot right here. I did? I said, Mayor, what is wrong with you? She said, well, actually, none of these buildings were here when we shot that. But he said, actually, you spent about 7 weeks of your life right here shooting.
It looks like it wasn't Tom's intention to laugh at anyone, so when he saw the reaction of the host he didn't join, but rather kept on going in a calm way, forcing him to listen. Number 4. Excitement and engagement when answering questions. The moment you end your question, he bursts into answering it with full commitment and excitement. This is the ultimate technique to make your conversationalist feel appreciated and also committed to the conversation. It usually starts with short questions and short simple answers without fancy communication techniques. They are kind of a warm-up, but with Tom, you get the high quality stuff immediately without trying hard. Here's an example where Tom Hanks burst with a great deal of communication skills in an instant.
The fields.
So
or
far
the
away
desert.
that there was no cell phone service. I mean,
Okay.
you had to go climb a thing called Lone Butte to get 2 bars.
You really?
Yeah, oh, I can't see. Oh, climb Lone Butte. You go up there, you see some producer up there going like this.
Really?
Because he could get 2 bars. It looks
bunch-
like rain. We're going to have to shoot on Saturday.
Notice how eager Tom is to respond. He rushes into answering so much that he starts speaking before Jimmy finishes his sentence. He kinda jumps in and finishes it for him. He speaks quickly and shows a variety of great tools, like tone modulations, gestures, strong articulations of words, impersonations, facial expressions, and tempo modifications. Maybe it does not seem that much when you watch the clip, but to be honest, I personally do not know anyone who would behave that way. Another thing about him is the fact that he sometimes even interrupts others, just to ask them about the details of what they discuss.
I was there with my 2-year-old son and my 4-year-old daughter.
Now the 2-year-old. Mm-hmm. How did it's not a horror movie, but there's some toys that maybe are a little bit creepy.
He wasn't bothered by it at all.
This creates the feeling of relevance and being appreciated, but it also shows your engagement to the conversation. Of course, you have to do that gently, not to interrupt in a rude way. I will cover this technique in an upcoming video about being listened. One more thing about answering like that is the fact that it makes him struggle to gather his thoughts.
Did you see Higgins at the 40th, the SNL 40?
Dude, okay, the 40th was like, okay, so I had to text my brother.
He wants to say so many things that he simply needs some time to look for the right words and form his sentences. But surprisingly, it is a good thing and it works great for Tom. It depicts him as this usual and real person who gets excited and shows it, which leads us to the next point. Tom is the definition of natural behavior everywhere he is, and it influences our perception of him a lot. His reactions are normal. He does not try to look like he knows it all. He often doesn't hide the fact that he has to think about answers or the right words, and he is comfortable showing his emotions. Here is an example of a reaction that is very normal but rarely encountered in interviews with actors. He doesn't feel uncomfortable just sitting there thinking about the answer. He speaks freely, but at the same time, he doesn't feel the urge to respond in an instant.
Is there an angry Tom Hanks?
My saying is I don't like people taking advantage of my good nature.
He doesn't try to present himself as this funny guy with answers ready for any question, like he is superhuman. Another example of a rather bizarre activity he was involved into, and another example of not caring too much and enjoying whatever is thrown at him. Since he is so natural and doesn't have to pretend anyone, he feels no pressure or stress.
Very nice fellow, but I suspect What are you doing?
Are you new to show business?
No, I'm just about to storm off your show in a huff. You free fall, and as you're free falling, your face goes like this.
Yeah.
As you're because you're traveling like at 250 miles an hour.
Right.
And then
Again, one of the greatest actors in the world, in his 60s, just sitting there having fun. You simply cannot dislike Tom Hanks. Throughout the years, his behavior was constant and remained the same, which leads us to the last point. Tom Hanks is predictable in a good way. So what does it mean to be predictable in a good way? Since as we mentioned before, he will most probably act classy, won't offend others, won't get angry easily, always tries his best to answer the questions with full engagement, basically becoming a one-man show, creating great atmosphere and making the conversation so much better all by himself, without actually trying hard and staying natural. It makes him the perfect person to talk to. It is always a safe bet, and when you cast this kind of aura around you, even people who don't know you, when they see you interact with others, will talk to you more likely than to people who don't seem so approachable. This kind of personal attitude might not be what you are looking for, but still you have to admit, it is one of the most versatile set of tools, and you cannot go wrong with it. To sum it all up, Tom Hanks' attitude is based on good manners, but what he excels at is making others feel good by taking care of how they could potentially react to what he says and how he behaves. He focuses on appreciating the people around him rather than himself. He is very funny, but at the same time he is respectful and will most likely joke at his own expense or neutral stuff that won't annoy anyone. Maybe the best thing about him as a conversationalist is the fact that he is super eager to answer any question or address any topic with full engagement and commitment. He does most of the work by himself, raising the dialogue to the next level with great communication techniques and excitement. He doesn't try hard and stays natural, making others feel good about him. His general behavior is very coherent and consistent, ensuring others that he will act certain way so you can feel comfortable around him. All in all, Tom Hanks simply seems like a good person. Now dear viewer, since this is one of the first videos on this channel, I sincerely ask you to let me know in the comments what you think of it, what should be changed, or simply what should we focus on in the future. I will be very grateful for this form of help, and I hope to improve along the way with you. This was the first video about personal attitude, so be sure to check other on the same subject on the personal attitude playlist. Check the description for sources and useful links. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications. Thank you and see you in the next videos.